AEW WrestleDream is in the books, and I'm just going to tell you this. If you are planning to watch it later, but you don't care about spoilers, make sure you're ready to be really, really sad. This is the big thing that we are going to talk about because it is the thing that has divided the internet, which is not bad. People get so mad, like, you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. That's what a story should do, as I always compare it to Mass Effect 3 ending with the Ghost Kid. There's another spoiler for you. But some people thought that absolutely ruined Mass Effect, but at least it got people talking. And the worst thing that BioWare did is they actually, via DLC, I believe, introduced a new ending. Nah, man, it's your art and you've got to tell the story. And if somebody thinks it's the biggest pile of pap ever, just go with it. And we should sit down, we should have good discourse. That's the real problem with the wrestling community, is you're not allowed to do that. You have to yell and go, yeah, stuck, and AEW is this. But I love the fact that in what is essentially Bryan Danielson's last ever match as a full-time wrestler, he decided, I don't want to go out as a hero. I want to go out when somebody has basically killed me. Now, the match itself was exactly what you would expect. John Moxley is awesome, Bryan Danielson is awesome, but they have like proper love for each other. They're friends, they have mad respect. So there was no way they weren't going to go out there and give you a compelling, violent match, which is what they did do. We exposed the concrete, and we played into the whole fact that Bryan's neck is basically dust these days. We also brought in Marina Shafir, and after the fact, the rest of the BCC was here too. But when Moxley eventually put that choke on Bryan, and Bryan just passed out, because his brain was like, I'm dying, Dan, so if you'd like to do something about that, I'd massively appreciate it. It was like WrestleMania 30. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was a similar kind of atmosphere. These fans could not believe it. And that then doubled, or I guess minus doubled, because it just got more silent as more silent, because Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta came out because the BCC were going to choke Bryan Danielson with that bag again. They stop him, then Wheeler Yuta turns heel, which is the most wrestling thing ever. Why wouldn't he just tag Darby Allin on the ramp? Why would he wait but never change? And once Darby has been tied to Tina the Turnbuckle, Claudio Castagnoli or Pac, whoever it was, gave the bag to Wheeler, and it was him that started to try and kill Bryan Danielson with this bag. Now listen, some people like this kind of stuff, some people don't. I think you're allowed to fall on either side of the fence, but I'm glad there's a wrestling company out there doing it. Like, sometimes, sure, AEW go too far for my tastes, but that's just me. You can't cater for just me. That would make me a narcissistic asshole. And then we had a bunch of babyface that kept coming trying to save Bryan Danielson, but they were totally useless when they got the chair and they wrapped it around Bryan Danielson's neck and they Pillmanized him, which essentially sold it as his neck is dead. He's not going to come back for a while. And the last shot we saw was all the baby faces crying as Danielson was wheeled up the rampway on a stretcher. Now, you compare that to how Sting went out, or compare it to how so many people got out, which I've seen people talking about on social media. They're going, this is the best thing. People are going, Bryan Danielson deserved better than this. Who did this to him? Bryan Danielson did this. Have you not watched his career or read anything about Bryan? He's a sicko, man. That's where that phrase comes from. He loves stuff like this. He will be chuckling away, probably on a plane because he's from Seattle. He will be driving home just chuckling away going, awesome. I've totally wound up everybody. That's his favorite thing to do. And this is why he's one of the best of all time, or a GOAT, or whatever you want to say. Because I wouldn't have minded if we had gone out with all the confetti, although essentially that's what we did at All In when he won the world title from Swerve Strickland. He wants to tell stories. He wants it to bleed into whatever we're going to do on Dynamite with John Moxley and the rest of it. And he always wants things to be different. This is a guy that had to have the world title forced on him because he just wanted to put everybody else over. And if he had gone out all bells and whistling and flags, Bryan Danielson, that wouldn't have summarized him up as a professional wrestler. That's never what he wanted. He has said he loved wrestling in the pandemic because he just enjoys the art form of doing it in the ring. And stories can't always be happy. And I think sometimes wrestling forgets that. Wrestling fans most definitely forget this. Sometimes you want to be left feeling bummed out. Sometimes you want to be left feeling sad in your tum-tum. Sometimes you want to be mad and you want to be angry. Because if AEW or WWE or New Japan, whoever, just continues to tell you the same thing over and over again, it loses its impact. And not many people are going to come along when they are walking away full-time, I think you'll be back semi-pro or whatever you want to call it, and be happy to put themselves in this position. So when you can do it, you have to pull the trigger. Like, we've seen lovely retirements, whatever you want to say, over and over again. It's totally different. It made John Moxley and the rest of the BCC, I mean, not figuratively feel like killers. They're literally killers. They're trying to kill people, right? And somebody should arrest them. And the fact that we made sure to tie all the good guys trying to stop it, I just thought it was theater at its best, which is all professional professional wrestling is. And it came off the back of a great match. I almost kind of forgot that Jon Moxley is the AEW World Champion now because so much other dark stuff had happened. I really want to see what's going to happen. I want to tune into Dynamite. I'm totally compelled, and I'm not sure you get that if you go in a different direction. Now, AEW has to stick the landing. They have to make sure we have story beats that are going to continue on for the rest of the year. But so far, so good, as far as I'm concerned. Like, Jon Moxley needs a big explanation about who is making him do this. But it's adult entertainment, I suppose. And you can go, oh, kids shouldn't be watching this. Well, that's up to the parents. I always agree with that. You can only go so far with restrictions, and that basically comes down to the rating system. It's why you see all these kids playing Grand Theft Auto, and then parents freak out, like, why are you playing this? It's like, well, you should just do a bit of reading or take care of your kid better. Otherwise, who do we put in charge of it? The police? Trust me, you don't want to go down that direction. It would totally murk everyone. So, truly tremendous, a great main event, and to me, the best and most fitting way to say goodbye to Bryan Danielson. And I didn't like it either, not in a creative way. Creatively, I absolutely loved it, but in a fan watching television. I was mad, and I was sad, and I was worried for this dude, but they are the emotions you are meant to take away from it. So if you are just throwing your toys out the pram, and you're allowed to not like it, right? That's not what I'm saying. Everybody's allowed an opinion. But some people are acted like Tony Khan or somebody else forced Bryan Danielson to do this. I promise you, there is no way. He wanted to end his full-time career like this. That's because he's the best wrestler to ever have lived. I mean, I can say that with some amount of hyperbole, but it's also kind of true. Otherwise, I think the highlight of the show was the big return of MJF and Adam Cole. It came after Jack Perry had defeated Shibata, and Daniel Garcia was here trying to protect Shibata, and then MJF came out and Adam Cole. I always love it when AEW do these kind of, he's here, oh my gosh, he's here. And massive respect for switching the roles, right? MJF was most certainly going to be the babyface, and Adam Cole was going to be the heel. I'm sure we can get away with it with a promo, whatever, to talk about the devil's stuff. But this was just the way to go. Like, it has been, well, it's been a mess. It's not their fault, though. Like, Adam Cole's injury really did throw everything out the window. And I think mostly it's really smart, right? Because it keeps it keeps MJF away from the World Championship, which he does have to go back for eventually. That's why I like the Swerve Strickland and the Hurt Business, the Pain Clinic, the Owl Sandwich, whatever we're calling them, because they've now got their own thing too. So we've kind of moved things around, probably for Darby Allin to insert himself back into the main event, or maybe even Orange Cassidy, if the end of the show is anything to go by. But how can it not be a benefit to the company with Adam Cole coming back? And I think the reason you have to make him a babyface is everyone knows what he's been through with his ankle injury and his concussion before that, and just a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. So if you have a heart, you want to cheer for this guy. And obviously Maxwell Jacob Friedman went mega heel a few months ago, and this is a role that he's so damn good at. Came back from shooting the Happy Gilmore 2 movie. So that guy is absolutely killing it. And I imagine all of these guys are going to situate around the TNT title, which does need a bit of a reset. You can do the whole tag team, because MJF talked to Jack Perry like 2 years ago, whenever it was, and said, listen, dude, you need to take a different path, which he has now done. And Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole makes all the sense in the world. Maybe even leads to a four-way. And AEW does have some good four-ways in the past. So that totally ruled. The Will Ospreay Takeshita versus Ricochet match is going to be argued about to death. I don't care, man. It's like going into a pizza restaurant and thinking you're going to be served burgers. Of course they were going to do this. And in terms of the style that they do enjoy, it was near perfect. It was so much fun. You had shenanigans at the end with Don Callis pulling Will Ospreay out the ring, so he was going to win. Ricochet, understandably, got murdered through a table, and Carl Fletcher turns heel, which we all saw coming, but that's good. It's called storytelling. Again, when I watch a rom-com, I just want the two leads to get together, and this is now we've got a bunch of people around the international title too. Takeshita is the brand new champion. Give him a push. Will Ospreay needs a rematch. Ricochet can totally say, well, no one beat me. And we've thrown Carl Fletcher in there as well. So when you look at every single championship right now, there are a pool of guys and girls around them that are totally good to go. And I think as long as AEW can capitalize this come Wednesday and Dynamite, maybe we can relight a fire about it. Same with the Young Bucks versus Private Party. You could have pulled the trigger there. Private Party had their best showing in years, but we now have kind of brought back in Top Flight. Stokely Hathaway's going to do something. And there's a bunch of other good tag teams on the roster, so let's just build them up too. I think it's fair to say the tag team division in AEW isn't as strong as it once was. I'm sure they know that internally as well. But we are moving things in the right direction. And the Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale World Championship match ruled too. My only criticism would be I think we should have put Willow Nightingale in this position when she was ready to win that title, because people were desperate for it, because she's the greatest babyface ever. Love the fact that Jay White beat Hangman Adam Page, it's meant to be a sport-based presentation. So even though Hangman Adam Page is on a roll right now, he should be able to lose, and it all came down to an injury. And now Jay White should be able to go on to, well, I guess defeat Christian Cage and then win the World Championship. And let's not forget that Christian also has his magic contract. So there's so much we can do here, right? There is some serious depth. So as long as we plan out some long-term stories, that's my personal preference. Continue to have the matches for the sickos, go crazy like Hologram versus the Beast Mortis. Those two guys now feel like stars on the up and coming because we have been patient. They're winning matches and putting on good performances. And I've enjoyed Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe. I know Chris Jericho gets a lot of talk about him these days, and I certainly would take all Ring of Honor titles off AEW because otherwise everyone has a belt and it kind of waters it down. But Mark Briscoe, the Jay Briscoe comments were controversial. We've talked about it. We don't need to talk about it again. But Mark Briscoe getting revenge and whipping Chris Jericho's ass, Rocky Romero proving that the conglomeration is strong, it just worked for me. And I just really enjoyed this, be it the fact that we did get the right victor, or be it the fact that Mark Briscoe, I just think, is a barrel of fun. I think he's super duper whooper entertaining. And I don't think there was anything else on this show. I mean, there may have been. I've been totally forgetting about it. And again, you can check out my ups and downs for WrestleDream on What Culture. The only down I would have given was the ending for Jack Perry versus Shibata. But this is the tiniest down ever. Personally, for me, I just thought it came out of nowhere and didn't really work in the way that AEW hoped it would. It's not a big deal. It was like a 72-hour show, and everything else delivered, as AEW pay-per-views always do. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't need to work on the television a bit more. Again, we've talked about it here, there, and everywhere. We need to get those ratings back up, even though I absolutely do not care about ratings. I care about my enjoyment of the show, and I just want all companies, including WWE, to do as best as they possibly can. But I watch this pay-per-view, and it gets me excited to watch the television. So that is the positive that AEW has now. Capitalize on that. Keep that feeling alive. Use the retirement of Bryan Danielson to turn this new BCC, whatever it's going to be, into the most dominant, horrible thing ever, and then everything else should sort of fall into place as well, because again, the world title needs to be on top. And I think we've got Mercedes Moné versus Queen Aminata, so again, that TBS title we can do some more stuff with as well. The Trios Championships, Darby Allin versus Brody King, that's what I thought about it because of the Trios titles. It just is what it needed to be. Brody King killed him, Darby Allin wins, and I'll be intrigued to see what we do with the House of Black at the moment because they're so weird. They come and go. Who are you, Cotton Eye Joe? But I don't know what's going on there. But listen, I would absolutely reduce the lengths of AEW pay-per-views, but I've talked to a lot of people who say, no, I'm putting $50 down on this. I want a long old show. That's totally fine. I do agree that when you're there live, it goes by way quicker. That's what I felt all in. But then I was watching this and I was like, man, there's another match. How is there another match? I do think some of these could be saved for Dynamite, which is why the rumor is that Bobby Lashley was going to debut, but somebody went, why don't we just hold this off for TV, which we should have done. Adam Cole, MJF, and the bunch of other things that we were having. You don't want that to get lost in the news cycle. Patience is really important in pro wrestling, and sometimes AEW have got too excited, which I can totally understand. But now, if he does turn up on Dynamite, that's something else we can talk about. And if you've got something else in the pocket, do it on the Dynamite after that. One big thing a show is okay, because we're all nerds, and we're going to talk about it anyway. So AEW doesn't miss when it comes to pay-per-views. No idea how it's going to do buy rate-wise. Could not give a flub. All I know is that I sat there, and I had a really good time. And I do think that AEW feels different from WWE, and maybe sometimes they fall into similar tropes. When it comes to the matches they give me, I love WWE style, and I love whatever you want to call AEW style as well. You don't have to like it. You can think it's totally crap. Do not care. Do not mind. That's all about you. But that Will Ospreay Takeshita Ricochet match, some people, and the Young Bucks match too, some people would do away with them if they had the power. I think that'd be the worst thing anybody could ever choose, right? I don't agree with this. They don't sell. They just sell in a different way. And also, I just want to enjoy myself, man. I just want to have a good time. And I think WrestleDream gave me that absolutely. Now, people are going to go nuts. Just drop a comment below. Have an argument between yourselves. I'm probably going to stay out of this one. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be me talking about some other wrestling nonsense. Otherwise, please do go to grillermind.com/Simon and use the code Simon to get 10% off. And listen, last week they were doing 50% off, so always check the website. I also get a little bit of kickback from that too, so it does help the channel. I do appreciate it. Patreon.com/Simon316 is the same as a Go Fitness. Use the code Simon20. Otherwise, come tell me how wrong I am at Simon316 on social media. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo. Personalized videos for your birthday, whatever the hell you want. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller for stupid NBA rip-off t-shirts like this. Got about 40 options up there now, so I'm sure you can find one, if not more, for me. Otherwise, take care, my friends. Goodbye.